Hello everybody. Welcome to this very special episode of the Smart Home Maker podcast. I now have about 10 years of experience in smart homing, and I think it is time to talk about my learnings. And who else could I talk to about this than my own smart home? So in this very special episode, I'm going to talk with my smart home and let you participate in that talk. No more words, let's jump right in. What do you think?
Yes, let's start.
Yeah.
Smart home maker, rock the beat. Innovation at your feet. Build it up, don't complicate. Home solutions, you're the mates.
Do you remember how in the beginning I wanted to implement everything myself from scratch? My own cloud implementation on AWS, everything in my own hands. I thought full control, full individuality.
Oh yes, I remember. You spent nights reinventing the wheel, just so I could switch the living room light on and off. In the end, it was simply too much effort for too less of result.
Exactly. I realized it ate up all of my time and slowed down innovation in the smart home. And then I came across Home Assistant. That was really a game changer. Because with Home Assistant, I still have everything under control, but I can still benefit from all the great community implementations. But before I had discovered Home Assistant, everything ran in the cloud.
And when the internet went down, nothing worked at all. Remember that day when the irrigation in the garden started but never ended because your cloud implementation could not send the turn off command because of an internet outage?
Oh yes, and that was really horrible. Since then, I moved to a local first strategy. Now, everything that's possible runs locally, and I think that is really great. But in the beginning, I also ran everything on Wi-Fi.
And my network was groaning. Light bulbs, switches, Zenzos, everything fighting for bandwidth.
Yeah, and I realized that, and then I changed this. And now, whenever it's possible, I use Ethernet. And only if this is not possible, then I use something like ZigBee, because ZigBee is not so power consuming and has an own network and does not cloak my Wi-Fi network. And only if it's necessary, because the device really needs bandwidth or something like that, then I use Wi-Fi. Another really important lesson for me was don't make the light bulb smart, make the switch smart.
Thank you for that. Otherwise, your kids would probably be traumatized by now, because they would never be allowed to touch a light switch again.
Exactly, because if you make the light bulb smart, then you cannot use your switches anymore, and that of course is not ideal, especially if you have other family members in your house who do not care about the idea of not touching the switch. And that brings me to something I really underestimated. I'm not living alone in my smart home, and everything I change in the smart home is directly productive and affects the other family members.
Oh yes. Do you remember the time I spammed everyone with voice notifications at 3 in the morning? Your wife and kids were not impressed.
Exactly. Since then I know I have to consider all the requirements and preferences of all the other family members as well. And for a long time, I relied mostly on static rules. Static rules for automations are great because they are really reliable and stable, but they can get really complex, especially if you have complex situations in your smart home.
Exactly. That's why you started experimenting a lot with artificial intelligence. With AI, I can evaluate situations, weigh probabilities, and make more flexible decisions.
Right. And that's the future for me. Rules for the simple things and AI for the more complex situations that have to be evaluated. And what I also learned is that it is so important to have the smart home community behind you. Especially also the Home Assistant community is so super helpful.
And not everything needs to be high-tech. Sometimes it's the small, simple automations that make the biggest difference.
Absolutely. The magic often lies in the very simple things. Thank you, my dear smart home, for this great conversation.
My pleasure, but hey, the next 10 years will be even more exciting.
Absolutely. So, yeah, thank you everybody for listening, and I see you next time. Bye-bye.